Hello everyone, this is Sarita, Assistant Professor of Chemistry, Government Degree College for Women, Begumpet. Today let us learn about thin layer chromatography. In our previous class, we have seen the introduction of chromatography, wherein we have seen the principle involved in chromatography, classification of chromatography, and the various terms which we come across in chromatography. So today, let us learn about one of the most important technique in chromatography, that is thin layer chromatography. Thin layer chromatography. It was first introduced by the scientist Stahl in the year 1958. Before the scientist Stahl, there were other scientists such as Constant, Jordan, Martin. Even they have done a lot of experiment. They have used this technique for the extraction of to separate the components from the plant extract. Now, why this TLC is considered as the most important technique is TLC is one of the simplest, fastest, easiest, and inexpensive of all the chromatography techniques. So it is very simple. That is, we'll see now why it is very simple. And the development is also very fast and it is very easy to handle also. And out of all the other important characteristics, it is inexpensive. That is, it costs very less amount. That means the equipment required is very cheap. And this TLC, it is used in qualitative as well as for the quantitative analysis. Qualitative is we can find out the nature of the components, whereas quantitative analysis is the one where we find out the amount or the concentration of the component which is present in the mixture. So mainly TLC is used to separate the organic compounds and also to purify the compounds. So after separating, we can easily purify the components also present in the mixture. Now, as I said in the last class that in all the chromatography techniques, we have two phases, that is mobile phase and the stationary phase. Now, even in TLC, the mobile phase is, we use liquid as the mobile phase. So here the liquid what we use is a developing solvent. The solvents are used as the mobile phase. And the stationary phase that we use is solid. So solid, it is nothing but a stationary phase where it is coated onto a glass plate. For example, we generally coat the glass plate with a silica gel, which is acting as the stationary phase. Now, the development is mainly performed at atmospheric pressure and at room temperature, and it is mainly taking place only on the flat surface. So as the development is taking place on the flat surface, this TLC, it is also named by other names such as drop, strip spread layer, surface chromatography, and open column chromatography. So why it is drop method? Drop is here we can load the sample in with the help of a capillary tube, and it is in the form of a drop we are loading the sample onto the stationary phase. Then it is strip spread layer, or else we can, the stationary phase can be spreaded on as a strip, that is as a uniform layer on a glass plate. And it is surface chromatography because the separation is taking place only on the surface of the slide. So it is known as surface chromatography. And it is open column. Why open column? Because it is taking place open. That is, we are not closing that slide with any other equipment. So it is open column chromatography. Now, what is the principle behind the TLC? So mainly the components will get separated because they will get separated only because of its adsorption power, which is different for each and every component. So when we load a sample onto the stationary phase, each and every component will have its own adsorption power. So due to that difference in the adsorption, the components will get separated. And you can see here, the component with more affinity towards stationary phase will travel slow. So we will see in the next slide that why it is that is traveling very slowly. So when a component which is having more affinity, that is when it is binding more towards the stationary phase, that component will travel a bit slow. Whereas the component with less affinity, that means the component which is having less affinity towards the stationary phase, will travel faster. So that is the main principle behind this TLC. So the separation is based on the difference in the extent of adsorption of the components onto the that is the stationary phase. So what are the components what we can use in TLC are? So these are the components. We have TLC plates, microcapillary tubes for spotting. These are the TLC plates. These are the microcapillary tubes which help to load the sample onto the plate. And this is developing chamber. So where we keep this plate after loading the sample, we have to keep this plate inside this chamber. Then iodine chamber and UV lamp. These two are used as detectors for detecting the spots or the components present in the mixture. You can see here, this is the slide. Okay, this slide is loaded with the stationary phase, and these are the capillary tubes. So these capillary tubes are very narrow, which are made up of glass. Now we have to take this capillary tube, and this is the sample that has to be loaded. So just insert the capillary tube into the sample solution, and then because of that capillary action, the sample will enter into the capillary tube. Then what we need to do is we have to take that capillary tube and then load the sample. Just touch the tip of that capillary tube to the plate which is having silica gel. So because of that adsorption power of that silica gel, whatever the sample is present in the capillary tube will be loaded onto the plate. And this is the TLC chamber. So after loading the sample, we have to put that slide in the TLC chamber, which is having the solvent, which is solvent here acts as the mobile phase. Then we'll see step by step how the experiment is carried on. So first thing is we need to have some coating materials. So these coating materials are nothing but the adsorbents, which are acting as the stationary phase. So what are the adsorbents that we use for TLC are? We have both inorganic and organic adsorbents. So inorganic adsorbents are, we can use silica gel, kieselguhr, aluminium silicate, bentonite. Whereas organic compounds that act as absorbents are cellulose and acetylates, charcoal, activated carbon, dextran gel, polyamides. So any of these we can use as a adsorbent. So adsorbent here, that is, it is acting as a stationary phase. So what we need to do is we have to take these adsorbents, prepare a slurry of this, and then we have to spread that adsorbent onto the glass plate. Now here, these adsorbents will not bind directly to the glass plate. So what we have to do is we have to add some binders. So binders, what they will do is they will help the adhesion of these adsorbent onto the glass plate. So what are the binders that we generally use is gypsum. So here you can see gypsum, which is calcium sulfate. This is mainly generally used binder in the TLC. We can also use starch, hydrated silicon oxide, etc. as binders. So the main role of binders is to bind the adsorbent onto the glass plate. You can also use inert fluorescent indicators such as zinc silicate. It can also be added to the coating material, which helps in identification of the unfluorescent material, because this fluorescent indicator, when you add to the adsorbent, they will show fluorescence when you observe that slide under UV light. And the sample or the components you can identify by the dark spots which are on the fluorescent plate. So these are some of the adsorbents and the binders what we use for TLC. So first we have to select the coating materials. Then how to prepare TLC plates. So the next step will be the preparation of TLC plates. We need to prepare the slurry. So slurry is nothing but whatever the adsorbent we select, we have to take that adsorbent along with the binders in it and then prepare a slurry by using chloroform and methanol. So that slurry should be consistent. Okay, the suspension or slurry, we call it as, it is nothing but as we do whitewash to our house, to the walls. So it just looks like that. So that slurry, whatever we are preparing, it should have some consistency so that it goes and binds to the slide. There are various methods for preparing the layers. So how to form a stationary layer on the glass slide? So one type is we can just pour the slurry onto the slide. That is nothing but a pouring method. Just pour little amount of the slurry on the slide and then tilt the slide such that the slurry is uniform on the surface of the slide. Then the other method is by dipping. Dipping, what we do is we hold two slides, glass slides, back to back. Just hold it at one end. Both the slides back to back, we have to hold it. And then dip those slides into the slurry. Slurry we have to take in a beaker and then dip the slides into that slurry and then just remove it. So that is where the slurry will go and bind to the slides. The other method is by spraying, just how we spray paint onto the walls or the car spraying. So just fill that slurry in a spray bottle and spray it onto the slide, or else by spreading. So spreader will be there, the machine in that the slurry has to be placed, and that spreader, once you just move or if you run on the glass plate, automatically the plate will get spreaded by the slurry. We can also have some pre-coated plates. So pre-coated plates are available in the market, which are expensive. So these pre-coated plastic sheets, they usually vary from 0.1 to 0.2 millimeters. So that is very, very thin layer of the stationary phase will be coated on those plastic sheets. But they are very expensive, that we can use it in our research. So in this picture, you can see one example where this is the slurry which is taken white color. So slurry is nothing but the silica gel. Suppose if we are taking silica gel as the adsorbent, silica gel G, it will be written as silica gel G, that is capital G. The G stands for gypsum, which is acting as a binder. So that powder is taken, and to that we have to add chloroform and methanol in equal ratios, so that you can, we need to prepare a slurry in this consistency. Just pour it onto the slide here, glass slide, and then tilt it a little bit so that it gets uniformly binded to the glass plate. So this is how we prepare the TLC plates. In the next step, what we have to do is activation of adsorbents. So now the adsorbent is present on the plate. Now what we have to do is we have to activate those adsorbents. That means the liquid part, whatever is there, that has to be removed. So how to remove that liquid, which is all the liquid part which is present on the slide. So what we have to do is we have to heat it to around 150 degrees Celsius for about 4 hours. So if you take that plate after, that is after the slurry is poured onto the plates, we have to heat it around 150 degrees centigrade for 4 hours. Or else if you are doing in the lab, general lab, degree lab, so if you just leave it for some time, okay, in the open air, it will get dried up easily. So that is, we are activating the adsorbent layer. The next step is purification of silica gel G layers. So sometimes what happens is there will be an impurity present in this silica gel. So generally silica gel G contains iron as impurity. So iron is an impurity which is present in the silica gel G powder. So what we have to do is we have to remove this. So how to remove? Just we have to develop that slide with a solvent, and that solvent should be methanol and concentrated HCl, which is taken in 9:1 ratio. So we have to prepare the solvent, methanol and concentrated HCl in 9:1 ratio, and then whatever slide we have prepared, that we have to put it in the solvent, so that the solvent, as it raises up the slide, what it will do is whatever the iron which is present in the silica gel, the iron is traveled along with the solvent and then it is removed. Then sample application. So after our TLC plates are ready. Now what we have to do is we have to apply the sample or loading the sample onto the TLC slide. So how to load the sample? By using micro syringes and capillary tubes. So suppose if the sample is solid, so what we have to do is we have to mix that solid sample which is there we have to dissolve that in a suitable solvent. Okay, the solvent that which we select for the solubility of that sample, it should be volatile. So we have to dissolve that sample in a solvent, and then by using this micro syringe, we have to load the sample onto the TLC plate. After that, we have to take that, just leave it for just 3 to 4 minutes. If you just after loading the sample, leave that slide for 3 to 4 minutes. So what happens is that sample, whatever we have loaded, it will get binded or it get absorbed onto the stationary phase. Now after it gets dried up, what we have to do is we have to take that slide and put it in a development tank. So development tank is, so here this is the development tank. If we don't have TLC chamber, TLC development tank, we can use beakers also. So this is a glass beaker. Okay, that glass beaker, we have to take the solvent which is acting as the mobile phase. So generally the solvents, we start with non-polar solvents, diethyl ether, benzene, like that. So take any one of the non-polar solvents, okay, and just up to 1 millimeter of that beaker, we have to take the solvent and then close that beaker with the lid, such that the solvent vapors, the entire beaker gets saturated with the solvent vapors, because all these solvents what we are using are volatile. Now what we have to do is, this is the slide, TLC slide, where we have loaded the sample. So here we have to take care that first what we have to do is we have to leave some 2 mm of the distance from the bottom of the slide and then mark a line using a pencil. So on that, this is the line which we called as origin line. Now after marking that line, we have to load the sample. Okay, at the center you can load the sample by using the capillary tubes. So after loading the sample, we are placing that TLC plate into the chamber. Now we have to take care that this layer, that is the origin layer, origin which is there on the slide, should be above the level of the solvent. This is the level of the solvent. Okay, solvent is still here. And when you place it, you have to see that the origin line is above the layer of the solvent. It should not get immersed into the solvent, because if it is getting immersed into the solvent, that is, we cannot separate the components because everything will get dissolved in the solvent. So we have to take care that the origin layer should be always above the layer of this solvent. Okay, and how we have to place the slide is we have to place at an angle inclined. It should be inclined around 45 degrees. So you can see the slide is placed inclined. It is not straight. It should not be 90 degrees, because if it is 90 degrees, there won't be proper flow of the solvent till the top of the slide. So we have to see that it is placed inclined at a 40 degrees angle, and we have to close it with the lid. So what happens is, because of the adsorption property of this stationary phase which is present on the slide, slowly this solvent will rise up. Because of the adsorption, the solvent gets adsorbed onto the slide, and you can see the wetting of the slide, that is the wetness of the slide on when it is immersed into the solvent. So slowly the solvent will be raising up. So when the solvent raises up, it will come in contact with the sample, because sample is placed at the origin line. So as it is raising up, it will come in contact with the sample, and thereby the separation will take place. So we'll see in the next step what are the solvent systems that we can select for TLC. So here the solvent, as I said, it is acting as a mobile phase, and the selection of the mobile phase depends upon the nature of the substance to be separated. So we have to see whether the sample, what we need to separate, is it a polar or non-polar. So based on that, we can select the mobile phase. The nature of the stationary phase used. So here, suppose if we are taking silica gel as the stationary phase, that silica gel is a polar in nature. Okay, so the mobile phase, what we have to select should be a non-polar mobile phase. So it should be non-polar solvent when we are taking stationary phase as the polar. Or if we are selecting stationary phase as non-polar, then the mobile phase, what we have to start is with the polar one. That means it should be opposite. So the mobile phase, whatever we are selecting, it also depends upon the nature of the mobile phase what we are using. And the mode of chromatography. So in the modes of chromatography, we have ascending chromatography, descending, radial, all those things. Now in this TLC, generally we go for the ascending chromatography. Ascending chromatography is the one where the solvent is placed at the bottom of the chamber, TLC chamber, and the solvent has to move up from bottom to the top. So that is nothing but it is moving up. So it is known as ascending chromatography or ascending development. The nature of separation, that is analytical or preparative. So analytical is just for a minute quantities, we just do the experiment, and if it is preparative TLC, we can easily find out the amount or the concentration of the sample which is present in the mixture. Then solvent used should be of high purity. So whatever the solvents we are using in chromatography, they should be 100% pure. And the solvents what we use here are petroleum ether, benzene, carbon tetrachloride, chloroform. So we can see that generally we are taking non-polar solvents because the stationary phase, generally what we take is silica gel, so which is polar in nature. So the mobile phases, what we select is generally non-polar. We can also increase the polarity by using methanol, water, etc. Or you can take the combination of some polar and non-polar solvents also. Then development methods. So as I said, it is generally ascending method which is used. Detection of components. So after the experiment, what we have to do is after the solvent has traveled till the 3/4 of the slide, we need to remove that slide and then detect for the components. So after some time, what we can see is we can see some colored components. Okay, so if it is colored components, that we can easily, it is visible to our naked eye. So we can see the color of the components there. The number of colored components will give the number of components which are present. So if we are finding 3 colors in that, so we can say that there are 3 components present in the mixture. Suppose if it is a colorless component, what we have to do? Because there are many compounds where they are colorless. So what we have to do is we have to take that slide and put it under UV light. Okay, we have to detect it under UV light, or we can use iodine chamber. So when you place that slide under UV, you can find the spots, or you can use an iodine chamber. Just put that slide in iodine chamber, and after some time, you can detect those spots because they react with iodine and they form a complex. Or we can use some corrosive agents. Corrosive reagents such as chromic acid or sulfuric acid can also be used in TLC. So these reagents are corrosive, but we can use in TLC because in TLC we are doing that is the TLC is done, or the stationary phase is adsorbed on the glass, so it won't affect the glass. Hence we can use chromic acid or sulfuric acid also. But we cannot use these reagents for paper chromatography because the paper, it will get damaged when we use these reagents because they are corrosive. And after finding or after detecting the spots, what we need to do is we have to calculate the RF values. So RF values, RF stands for retardation factor, or it is a retention factor. So how to calculate, we have seen in the last class. Again today also we will see how to calculate the RF. So before going into that, Now you can see here in this picture, this is the silica layer, okay, the stationary phase, silicon, and it is having polar groups, OH groups. So all these are hydroxy groups which are attached to the silica. Now this OH groups, as we have exposed OH groups which are present on the silica, it is acting as a polar adsorbent. Now this is the sample, suppose, okay, which is having carbonyl group, C double bond O. This is acetophenone, which is acting as is. We are just taking an example of this as a sample. Now, as you can see here, the carbonyl group is forming intermolecular bonding with the hydrogen. That is, intermolecular forces are acting here. Okay, as I said, the principle involved is adsorption, where it is only the surface phenomenon. There won't be any chemical interaction or chemical reaction which is taking place between the sample and the adsorbent. So here you can see the intermolecular hydrogen bonding which is formed between the oxygen of this carbonyl and the hydrogen. So once these forces are acting, what happens is, you can see this is a colored thing, that is nothing but it is just depicting that it is adsorbed onto the silica gel. How it is getting adsorbed? By formation of this hydrogen bond. So intermolecular hydrogen bond is formed between the sample and the silica gel. Now what we are doing after it gets adsorbed, we are placing the slide in a solvent, where the solvent is acting as a mobile phase. So when you place that sample, that is we call it as eluent. So the this one, that is the mobile phase, will be moving up. That is, it is traveling up. This is the direction of the mobile phase, how it is traveling from the bottom to the top. So when it is traveling, so what it has to do is it has to overcome these forces, these hydrogen intermolecular forces. So when it overcomes those forces, then only it will drag the sample. Okay, and the sample along with the solvent will also travel. So otherwise, if the forces are strong, if the intermolecular forces are strong between the stationary phase and the sample, then that is, we say that the sample is having more affinity towards the silica gel. If the forces are strong or it is having more affinity, then the distance traveled by the sample is very less. So it travels to a lesser extent. So in this case, this sample will travel slowly when compared to the mobile phase, or when it is compared with the other components which are present in the mixture. So this is how the sample gets binded, adsorbed onto the silica gel, and when you run it, then the mobile phase will drag the sample, and then after some time you can see the spots. So now these are the steps where we can see how TLC is carried out. So as I said, this is a slide, okay, where it is loaded with the stationary phase. There's a chamber, and here the black color one is a solvent. You can see here, this will be the origin line. Okay, this origin line is above the level of the solvent. Then before placing the slide into the chamber, we have to load the sample. So here two samples are loaded simultaneously. You can load either one sample or two samples. So in this picture, there are two samples which are being loaded, and it is inserted into the chamber. Now after 5 minutes, you can see the separation of the components. Okay, the sample which is present here it is moving along with the mobile phase. So you can see the separation of the components, even with the other sample also. Then after some time, again after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you can see the larger separation between the spots is more. Okay, so after this solvent has traveled up to 3/4 distance, that means it has to travel up to this distance, 3/4 of the slide. What we have to do is we have to remove the slide using forceps. So open the lid and remove the slide and just place it outside. So within 2 or 3 minutes, it will get dried up. And as you remove, you have to mark the solvent front. That is nothing but the distance moved by the solvent is solvent front. So in the next diagram, we'll see. First, we'll look at this. So these are the samples which are components which are separated, and they all are colored. And after that, what we need to do is we have to measure the distance of the components which are traveled. Okay. So here you can see slowly it is moving up. Okay. And then after measuring the distances, we need to calculate the RF values. So in the next, yeah, here you can see in this. Now, this is the origin line. Here the sample has been loaded. Okay. Now what we can see is after this slide is after the development. Okay. After complete TLC procedure has done, after it has been removed from the chamber, we can see three colors, three spots. Okay. So one is red, green, and then blue. So these three spots which are colored, so it is visible through our naked eye. So these three spots indicate that there are three components present in the mixture. There might be some colorless compounds also. So what we have to do is we have to place that slide under UV light. So when you place it under a UV light, it is visible in this way. Okay, so these are the spots which are visible when you place it under UV light. So this is how the separation of components can be carried out by TLC. Now, as I said, after removing, we have to measure the distances of the components which have traveled and also the solvent front distance. And then we have to substitute them in this formula for finding out the RF value. So it is distance traveled by the solute divided by distance traveled by the solvent front. Now, in this case, you can see again the slide. This is after development, where you can see three spots again. Okay, this is the origin, the spotted sample of reaction mixture. So we have loaded the sample here. Then after development of this TLC, these are the three spots which were identified. That means three components are present in the mixture. So as I said, we have to see that when the solvent has traveled up to 3/4 of the distance, this is the distance traveled by the solvent. Okay, you need to remove the slide. And there itself, you have to mark it with a pencil. Okay, and that is nothing but the solvent front. So solvent front is nothing but the distance traveled by the solvent from the origin. Okay, everything you have to measure from the origin line only. Now, as there are three spots and we have measured the distances also here, the C component has traveled 1 centimeter, A has traveled 2 centimeters, B 3 centimeters, and the solvent front traveled is up to here. So it is 5 centimeters. It has traveled. Now we have to calculate the RF. So as RF is nothing but the distance traveled by the component divided by the distance traveled by the solvent. So for each and individual components, we need to measure RF value. So RF, first for C component, it is distance traveled by C component is 1. So 1 divided by distance traveled by the solvent, which is 5. So it will be 1 divided by 5, that is equal to 0.2. Then we need to calculate for A also, the component A. The distance traveled by component A is 2, then divided by 5, it is 0.4. Then for B, distance traveled is 3 centimeters divided by the solvent front distance, that is 5 centimeters. So it comes around 0.6. So this is how we have to calculate the RF values. Then we need to compare these RF values with the standard known RF values, okay, which is there in the literature. So by comparing the RF values, we can find out what is the component which is present in the mixture. Now in this case, we can find out which is more polar and which is less polar. So as we have taken silica gel on the slide. As I said, silica gel is polar in nature, okay, and we have taken the mobile phase, a non-polar one. Okay, so what happens is when here you have to remember one point that like dissolves like. So when silica is more polar, then it strongly binds to the more polar components. Okay, so as I said in the starting itself, more the affinity towards the stationary phase, less is the distance traveled by that component. So as the component C has traveled to a lesser extent, that means we can say that C is more polar in nature. Because it is more polar in nature, it is strongly binded to the adsorbent, and hence the distance traveled by C is less. Suppose if we take the component B, so B is less polar. How we can say that it is less polar? Because the distance traveled by the B is more. So as it is less polar, then the affinity towards the adsorbent is less for B. So when the affinity of particular compound is less, then the distance traveled by that component will be more. So that by looking at the distance traveled by each and individual components, we can say that C is more polar and component B is less polar. So this is how we can easily identify the polarity of the components in TLC. Okay, so what we have done first, we have selected the adsorbent. So adsorbents are nothing but acting as a stationary phase. So when we are taking silica gel as the stationary phase, silica gel G, where G stands for gypsum. So we have to prepare a slurry of that silica gel G powder by using chloroform and methanol. And then we have to dip or pour that slurry onto the slides. After that, we have to let them dry. Okay. Then load the sample. We have to draw the line, that is the origin line, with a pencil. And then load the sample using the capillary tube. Then after that, you have to place that slide in the development chamber or the TLC chamber. And you have to see that the level of the origin will be above when compared to the level of the solvent. And then you have to wait for some time. You can see the progress of the solvent, that is it will be moving up on the slide. And then after it has traveled to 3/4 distance, we have to remove the slide from the chamber. Then mark this point, that this is the solvent front, with a pencil. Then just leave it for some time, it will get dried up. Then after that, you need to measure the RF values, measure the distances, and then the RF values also. So based on these RF values, we have to check these RF values in the literature, and then you will get to know that what is the component which is present in the given mixture. So if the separation is not enough, suppose if the RF value is around 0.9 or if it is equal to 1, then what we have to do is we have to change the solvent. We have to change the solvent system. You can take the mixture of the solvent, that is polar as well as non-polar solvents mixture, in 1:1 ratio, 1:2 ratio, any ratio. So it all depends, the separation between the components depends upon the solvent what we are selecting. So these solvents we have to select by trial and error method, and then we have to go for the column chromatography if we want to do the separation in a larger scale. So this is for a small scale where we can take a less amount of the sample and then run the TLC. Then how TLC is superior over all the other chromatography techniques? So we'll see one by one. So one is TLC requires very simple equipment. So what equipment we have seen is very simple, just a glass slide, capillary tubes, a chamber. If chamber is not there, you can take beakers also. You need UV light, and then that is iodine chamber. So these are very simple equipment which is available in all the laboratories. So TLC, if you want to do TLC, very simple equipment is required for that. And it is short development time. So short development time, it just takes 15 to 20 minutes for the development. Okay, because we are taking a very small slide. So the developing of the, that is the running of the solvent from bottom to the top, it takes place just within 15 to 20 minutes. So the development time is very less. Wide choice of stationary phase. So we can check the separation of the components by taking different types of solvents, combination of the solvents, and also stationary phase. So stationary phases, as I said, they may be polar or non-polar also. So that depends upon, first thing is you should know the nature of the sample. If it is polar or non-polar, whether it is acidic or basic, then we can select the stationary phase that can be used for TLC. Then early recovery of separated components. So just as I said, it is taking very short development time. So after the separation, you can remove the slide and then you can recover the components. How to recover the components is, if you are doing in a preparative TLC, so what we can do is we can just scrap off that the powder, that is the silica, along with the components by a knife. Just take a knife and then scrap it on the glass plate. So all that should be can be collected in a beaker. Then you have to take some solvent so that the sample gets dissolved in it, filter it, so all the silica gets separated out, and then the sample which is present in the solvent, you just heat it, because all the solvents whatever we are taking are volatile. Just put it on a hot water bath. All the solvent will get volatile, vaporized, and the remaining thing what is left over will be the sample. So this is how it is very easy to separate the components, and also we can recover the components. Then separation effects are superior. Very nice separation can be achieved by changing the solvent systems. Easy visualization of separated compounds. So you can easily visualize, because if it is colored, it is very easy. Just with our eye, we can visualize the components. If it is colorless, we have to take the help of UV light and add in chamber. It is very sensitive. That is when you compare with all the other techniques, it is very fast. So it is very sensitive. Variable thickness of thin layers. So if you change the layers, the uniformity of the layer is also very important while preparing the TLC plates. So if you want to take, that is the sample quantity is more, then what you can do is you can see that the layer of the silica gel to be thick. So if you take the thickness of the layer, that is the thickness, if you increase, then you can easily that is separate the components also. The recovery of the components will be very easy if you do this TLC with a thick layer of stationary phase. Then chemically inert stationary phase. So all the stationary phases, whatever we choose here for TLC, they should be chemically inert. That means they should not chemically react with either the sample or with the mobile phase. So these are some of the points where why we choose TLC over other chromatography techniques. So whenever a sample is given, the best easy method is first to do the TLC. After selecting the solvent by the help of TLC, then we can take that same solvent for the separation, and we can do the experiment by using paper or column chromatography. So the main solvent selection must be done by TLC, which is very, very easy. Then we'll come to the applications of TLC. So what are the applications? In starting itself, I have explained this TLC. It is used to check the purity of the samples. Okay, so you can check whether a sample is pure or not, because all the adulterated food items can be checked by using TLC, whether they are adulterated or they are pure. Then it is also used for identification of compounds like all the other functional groups, that is acids, alcohols, proteins, alkaloids, amines, antibiotics. So all these functional group, organic compounds functional group, can be identified by using TLC. Then to evaluate the reaction process by assessment of intermediates. So here, one of the main use of this TLC is, suppose if you are doing any reaction. Okay, so in that, whether the reaction is progressing or not, that you can check by TLC. At the starting, when you add all the reactants in a, suppose if it is an round bottom flask, RB flask, add all the reactants into that. Okay, so before adding, you have to check the TLC. Then after adding, the reaction mixture is prepared. Then whether the reaction is progressing or not, that we can check by TLC. So after starting of the reaction, just after 5 to 10 minutes, just stop the reaction, that is stop heating the RB flask, and then take a drop of that reaction mixture and do TLC. So if you find any difference from the first TLC, that is before starting of the reaction, that TLC and that RF values and these RF values, if you find any change, then we can say that the reaction is progressing. If we are finding the same RF values or the same distance traveled by the components are same, then we can say that the reaction has not yet progressed. So that is nothing but the reaction course or the intermediates, whatever is formed in any reaction, that we can check by TLC. So same thing again to purify the samples. Then to keep a check on the performance of other separation process. So when we are, there are other separation processes also. So such as column chromatography. So when we just to check whether the components are separated by column chromatography or not, then also we need to perform TLC, because even after separating the components by using column, the next thing what we have to do is we have to check whether it is pure or not by running TLC only. So it is used to check the performance of other separation processes also. So these are some of the applications of TLC. So in this class, we have seen what is the principle behind TLC, what is the stationary phase, and what is the mobile phase which is used in it, and what is the experimental technique, what are the steps we have to follow one by one, and then lastly we have to find out the RF values. So based on those RF values also, we can say whether it is polar or non-polar, and how it is superior when compared with other chromatography techniques and the applications of TLC. So hope you have understood the TLC part. Thank you for watching.